call the Arts, Parks, Health, and Aging Committee this day. Thank you.
The committee has 12 items before it today.
Well, let's start with item number 1.
Okay, item number 1 is a communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Ms. Ana Cubas to the Board of Library Commissioners for the term ending June 30th, 2011.
Come on up, Anna. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you, Councilman.
All right, good. This is a great opportunity for you and a great honor for the city and Mayor Villaraigosa to have you as one of our commissioners. Want to tell me your passion, and if you remember your first book you checked out as a child?
Well, I've been telling my friends about this appointment, and the story that I like to tell is when I was a little girl, my mom was a single parent, and I used to pick up my little sister from elementary school. I was in junior high, and we went to our local public branch, which at that time was Mar Vista. And so it was quite a safe haven for us because we were there till 6:30. And the more I tell that story to people, the more they tell me, oh, we did the same too with my siblings. That was the place where we went for after school or to stay safe and stay out of trouble. And so for me, it's quite an honor and privilege to be here in this wonderful opportunity to help make the library system to maintain its quality, to make it better. And I'm also excited because through my full-time work at the Youth Policy Institute, we serve over 15,000 families. And I'm quite excited about making sure that each one of them has a library card. Some may already, but I want to make sure that as many kids as we can in the city of LA have access to our wonderful library system. And certainly the library department has one of the best reputations in the city family. It's well run, wonderful staff, so I'm very proud to join that family.
Well, thank you very much. We're joined by Councilwoman Janice Hahn. Thank you, Ms. Hahn. I apologize for being detained, but we're all here together now. And
yes, I was here earlier, but I left.
I know. I apologize. You should have got a telex in your BlackBerry. But, any questions for our prospective commissioner? And we're going to recommend your approval. We just got to ask you got one of these?
Yes, I do.
Good, okay, good. Please ask the Sergeant of Arms to make sure she has no overdue books. No, I'm teasing, Anna.
No overdue books.
We should bring up to the commissioner our idea about.
We're going to talk that later with the librarian.
Well, I know, but if she's on the the Board of Commission.
Okay, is that all right with the city attorney? We can talk about anything here.
Yeah.
Ms. Hahn, you say it first, and we were collaborating and came up with an idea that probably will be morphed into a better idea, but to try to get public participation. You know, we have public schools, we have public libraries, we have public parks, but the public has to step up with a higher obligation where they can to help offset the cost of what is being depleted by the crisis that government's in from coast to coast, from Maine to San Diego and all places in between. So Ms. Hahn and I were sitting here collaborating. And Ms. Hahn, will you take over?
Yeah, well, we thought about what's a way that we could give people an opportunity to be a better friend to our libraries we suggested joining something like we called it the Los Angeles Library Book Club, where you paid, an extra fee. I'm just asking her. I don't want this to be.
I got it, but she's got to sit there so we can talk about it, said the city attorney.
No, that's not true. We're approving an appointment of a commissioner, and I just wanted to talk to her about our idea and see what she thought about it.
Very well.
I don't want to discuss the whole item.
Got it. Okay, good. Got it. Okay, Chris.
So, and just to, we're going to talk about it another time in the agenda, but just wonder what you thought of that idea of giving people a way to pay for their library card, even though it's free for everybody. Maybe give people opportunity to be a member of something that they paid a little bit extra to raise funds for the library. What do you think
Certainly,
of that
I'm
idea?
sure there's some community members who can and want to help.
Yeah, that was our point.
So absolutely, they should be given that opportunity, just like they support public radio. Why not support our public libraries?
Hey, that's it. See, it morphs all the
Thank
time.
you.
That's
Glad to hear you say that. That's all I wanted. I was like, I didn't want
I
to.
know, I got it. I got that. Well, let's recommend this approval of this, Commissioner.
Yes.
Okay, forthwith. Thank you, Ms. Hahn. I appreciate it greatly there. Okay, you're approved. go
Thank
to
you very
council.
much. Thank
Let's
you.
go to item number 2.
Item number 2 is also a communication from the mayor relative to an extension of the temporary appointment of Ms. Christina Morita as interim city librarian.
Okay, very good there. And we have a great interim librarian. And Chris, thank you very much. How's the experience been going?
It's been challenging. It's been a good experience. We're lucky. The library's at a great place now where we rebuilt 90% of our infrastructure. And, we're in year 2 of our strategic plan, of our 3-year plan, and we've accomplished 80% of our goals and activities and objectives. And we have a terrific staff. So it's been great.
Great. Appreciate that. I know your leadership and throughout the system as well respected. Ms. Hahn, you have any questions?
No.
Chris? So, with that being said, we're going to extend it. And then how long does this get extended? 6
It's a
months?
6-month extension.
All right, good. And if you could put any more onto it, we certainly would. Thank you, Chris, for your service to Los Angeles. Item 2 is moved by Ms. Hahn, seconded by myself, to approve the extension. Item 3.
And item number 3 is a motion, Laban Sean Parks, relative to directing the library department to report regarding the viability of establishing a Los Angeles Public Library book club.
Thank you very much.
And, we appreciate the council members coming up with this idea and we appreciate your support of the libraries, of, being careful or, being concerned.
If you could talk
about
right
our-
in, move that microphone a little to
being
the,
concerned about our finances and our support. But even though the idea is unique, it's difficult. It's going to be difficult to implement to combine the card with the borrowing privileges. So what we rather do, because we already have a mechanism in place, is in which the public can support the library, is through the that people can join the Library Foundation and the 65 support groups, the Friends of the Library groups. For example, Friends of the Los Feliz Library, Friends of the San Pedro Library, they're among very active friends group that, raise funds to help the library. And they raise these funds, and we use these funds to buy books and computers or enhance our programs, such as, the Children's Summer Reading Club, the Adult Literacy Services, and they do help raise funds to support us. And so what your motion has done is that it made us, that what we'll do now is increase awareness of these opportunities for the public. What we'll do is we'll make a stronger support the library page more prominent on our website, and we'll get together with our friends groups, because the friends groups, they get together twice a year at the Central Library to network and share ideas, and they're going to get together in the next couple months. So we're going to brainstorm with them and the Library Foundation to come up with a big fundraising plan that they can participate in, to make it easier for people to support the library.
well, if we could have a discussion and then somehow say that. I understand in a conversation that we had,
Right.
the interest that a club may mean something more. We never want to discourage anybody if I'm not a member of a club, or if I'm not a member of the football team, or the
Right.
or the whatever the club is. So we got that, but there's something I call the Friends Group. It could be a friend of the Los Angeles Public Library, that and somehow figure it out without making anyone feel that there's an impediment for going into what has always been established, a free service. I think, Ms. Hahn, you and I share the strong belief that we got to think differently in these times where the monies are not going to come to us, and we want to make sure the CAO, who's the CAO representative here? That the CAO doesn't take any money if we raise from the public to replace. We want to make sure the level that the city has a commitment to stays where it best can be, but not see the public participate and then be drained by money taken away on that issue. But I think we should have a roundtable, if you will, at the public library, maybe a discussion, and you do have roundtables at the library, and invite some people from a cross-section of the community in to say, how can we better support our libraries and stand up? What does it cost? Anybody go to movies lately? I haven't, but anybody go to the movie in the last? How much? $11.75. And did you go alone, or did you have somebody with you?
I think that's none of your business.
Oh, no, well, I know it's none of my business.
I think you're way out of order.
Okay, so you're paying $30, for one, so we say to people, you want to be a friend of the library, just join. We're going to have to reach out further and farther and be more efficient in everything you sure can in what we do, because the changing dynamics of the world economy is going to go right down to every neighborhood park, every neighborhood library, every neighborhood community center. I'd like to ask Ms. Hahn to comment.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon.
Thank you very much.
I will say I'm disappointed. I think what you just heard Mr. LeBlanc say and me is we've got to start thinking outside of the box. A gold card member for the public library, it was a great idea. There's gold cards at Starbucks. I mean, it doesn't make anybody feel left out. It just gives just another incentive to, for the customer. And this would also have raised funds. You've had the Friends of the Library. You've had the foundation. People aren't overwhelmingly joining that. The gold card member of the Los Angeles Public Library was a great idea. I don't think you looked at it hard enough. I think you didn't really look at the advantages of that. It couldn't have been that difficult to implement. Just let me say my piece. I think this is what's frustrating to us. We've got tough economic times. I fought for a specific dollar amount in the city charter that is there for libraries that could never be changed unless we had a vote of the people. So I've been a big friend of the libraries for a long time, and I was one of those that fought for that, to put that line in the city charter. But this was a good idea. With technology, you're going to make the library in the 21st century. Having a gold card, I can't imagine would have been that difficult to implement. And the idea, Tom, that it might have raised, extra $5-10 per people who wanted to do it. It could have been huge. And just like you grabbed out your card, just then people start, hey, become a gold member. And what that would mean, it's not an elite group. It means we love the library, and we want to raise money for the library. It was more attractive, in my opinion, than the foundation or the Friends of. We've had that. And just putting more information on your website, it was not the idea here. The idea was actually have somebody with a card in their pocket that said, I want to give money to the library, and I'm a gold card member, and maybe that gave me a few more privileges. They weren't that many. But it was a cute, clever marketing for the public library.
But I just want to say,
I don't want to be harsh, but
I know, but it's not over. We're going to have an opportunity to do more discussion, to have a roundtable, to come up. I don't know if the foundation considered this at all.
I'm disappointed on the record.
Okay, you can be disappointed.
What we'd like is more time then. Why don't we have more time?
Come on. We're all fighting for our very lives here. You're fighting for your very life with public dollars. We're going to make some tough cuts on the city council. And we were just giving you a clever idea to market our great public library system, and for you to come back and say it was too hard.
Well, I don't think she said that at all. I just want to say that as a chair.
That was too difficult to...
No, I think there's one challenge that the system has that they're going to have a round table on and some discussion, Ms. Hahn, to try to figure a way how we do this. We don't know. We have to change the way we're doing things. I think Ms. Hahn was absolutely correct in saying we have to think way outside the box. Yeah. We have to do things differently. And I know it's not our normal practices, but I think we absolutely have to. I know in public education, we have to think of what obligation we could extend even greater than just whatever our property tax is, or whether we have children in schools or not, to be successful. All that being said, I would like to ask that we continue this for 45 days, that we have opportunity to have a published schedule, that we work with Mr. Persick, and maybe do some discussion, maybe try to get a story in the paper. What do you think? What is other libraries doing across the country or the world? Because this is a world-changing economy now that has been broke. But I understand what you said, Chris, as because I pictured you at the counter at Cahuenga Branch, not you, but someone when I was a child, and I said, okay, if there was something that said you only had to be a club member, you get out here. It seems like it does create that. I know that's not what I understand that wasn't the intent at all, or even the intent, but it's there. But we could figure a way. We could think outside the box, and we could say to people, this is what we could do. It's amazing to think of how many people use the internet to contribute in some way possible to say that and what it does. And even in the challenge that we have, do you go to Starbucks?
Yeah, they have gold cards, and the rest of us that don't, we don't feel out of it. We just know that there's an incentive if you want it.
You get a book at the Starbucks?
I'm not a gold card member, so I don't know.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, good. All right, good. All right, good. All right. Anyway.
So we'll report back.
You report back in 45 days. We're going to have some discussions.
Why don't you report back on how you can implement
a program and whatever we think it is to give people a better opportunity to join in. What I'm asking all departments to do is to say, what does it cost, Mr. Mike Scholl, what does it cost to run a rec center for Friday and Saturday night? So if it costs $575 a night, then we know that we can go to the community and say, look, we want these rec centers open because we may have to close some. But we should know actually what the dollar amount is. We should know some of these. People will rise to the occasion because they love your libraries, because they love our parks, but we got to have the right vehicle and make sure it's not lost in a sea of bureaucracy, that it's going right to the people. So I appreciate that. And Peter, we'll be in touch with you. Chris, I thank you. And Ms. Hahn, we're going to continue this 45 days. And good ideas come through a struggle. It is a great idea, but we got it down right. Okay. Madam Clerk, that's number 3.
Yes,
Thank
continued.
you both. Okay. All right, number 4.
Item number 4 is the City Administrative Officer Report relative to proceeds from the sale of the Bethune Branch Library. The Budget and Finance Committee recommended to note and file the report.
Item number 4, okay.
Basically, the proceeds from the Exposition Park Library was $3.3 million, and the mayor and council had approved that out of that, the proceeds, which will come in hopefully in the next month or so, 1.6 is already part of our revenue stream for the library's budget, and or 1.7, excuse me, and the remaining 1.6 is supposed to go back to reimbursing the bond.
And is this the typical process? Because I know libraries have a different
Right. By charter, that the funds go back to the library fund.
Okay.
Jackie Wagner, CAO. And thank you, Chris. We do work very, very well together. Yes, the Library Commission declared this particular property surplus, and it was stipulated at the time that they declared it surplus that the proceeds from this library would go back to the library fund, and it will be.
But it's a 50-50?
It's approximately 1.6 was to be repaid to the library bond program, and 1.7 was put into the library's revenue stream for this
So
year.
you got 100% of the money. Good. All right, good. Thank you. Would you also look at the library at Gardner and DeLongpre?
Yes.
What's happening with that library?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Gardner and DeLongpre, it's the former West Hollywood branch, the Will and Ariel Durant, before the new one, and it's still sitting there, and we haven't sold it. So if you just look at that, Madam CAO.
Absolutely.
And Ms. Hahn, any questions?
No.
And you've also informed the council person of the district of this proceedings?
Yes. Are you the expo, the sale of the expo branch?
Right.
Yes. Councilman Parks has been very involved, and in fact, this report has already been heard by the Budget and Finance Committee.
Good. Thank you all so very much. Okay. Next item.
Again, item number 4, for clarification, the committee is recommending to note and file.
Note and file, and this is the,
The item that was just considered.
yeah, note and file, yes, very good. Let me ask you on item number 8. I want to make Ms. Hahn real happy right now. I just want to move this right along.
Okay. Item number 8
Yeah.
More than that.
is a motion, Han Labange, relative to requesting the Department of Recreation and Parks to present the findings of a year-long study of park needs in the city of Los Angeles, including opportunities for park acquisitions and an updated report on Quimby funds and other related matters.
Great. And we're going to hear from city staff first. Okay. John, you got to fill out the card.
Good afternoon,
Mike Shaw.
council. Good afternoon, council members. Mike Shaw with Department of Recreation and Parks. Item 8 contains, there's 3 items in there for discussion. The one was the park needs assessment that was recently completed, as well as which included opportunities for park acquisitions and an updated report on Quimby funds. First of all, the park needs assessment is complete. It is available on our website. That particular document was really to address, to help us address some of the needs of the community and help prioritize the different things that we're trying to do in the park system, which does obviously include park acquisitions, which was community and neighborhood parks were very high, on the results that we got back from the needs assessment.
Is this the project done by a group out of Texas and Mia
It
Lair?
included, it was Mia Lara and
Yeah.
Pros Consulting and
Right.
my staff.
Ms. Hahn, this is your motion, so I'm going to defer to you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to just state that the group out of Texas and the group in Los Angeles did this study. I think it's a very important issue that I would love to see those consultants here in front of this committee at some time, whether we could hold this in the future. I'll turn
Yeah.
it over to you as well.
So, I'm sorry, I was talking. So what did Mike just say? Are you presenting the findings?
We actually were prepared today to
Oh, you're
to
not?
give we were prepared.
Oh.
We have a PowerPoint, but I wasn't sure what the timing was for, you guys are on, there was a number of items buried in this motion, so one
Yeah.
being the needs assessment. I didn't know, we're prepared to give you a presentation.
Well, I would like the consultants here as well, because they worked on it. They're the ones who did it.
Okay, you want to hold that back for another time?
We're more than happy to
What
do
about
that.
the report detailing Quimby funds available?
The Quimby, since almost a year ago, we've been posting the Quimby reports on our website,
Right.
and every time we do a posting, there's also a mailing that goes out to each council office, all the field staff, all the deputy staff in each council district. That email comes directly from me with an updated. Probably in less than a week, there will be a new update on there.
And I think the part of the, and I don't know how you are with Quimby funds, but I think part of, our controller kind of gave a big hit to everybody about whether or not they're spending their Quimby funds, or a lot of council offices didn't seem to know what their funds were, and you know how reports are.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen them, and I've just spent an hour with my staff kind of going over ours, and it's confusing. It's very confusing, within the mile radius, within the 2 mile radius, with the current, what's on the map. It's only the parks that you've decided to put on the map, and or the projects that you've already decided you want to start working on are on the list. And it's been difficult, I will say. It's been difficult even in my district to get a real handle on, exactly where the funds are, exactly the 2 mile circumference, and then to talk about projects, because I know Rec and Parks have projects that they would like to do, and actually they're looking at Quimby funds as kind of a pot of money. So they've looked to use our Quimby funds for projects, but maybe that's not what the community wants or what the council office wants. So it's been kind of an interesting process. And then we have people from Rec and Parks going to the media and going to public meetings saying, by the way, community, did you know you have $5 million of Quimby funds? Well, then they start calling the council office. Well, we didn't know that, and what about this project? And so it's been kind of a wild, wild west in terms of Quimby funds. We really need to, make sure we have a good working relationship with the community, with the council office, with Rec and Parks. And I think there needs to be a sense of, are there other funds that Rec and Parks could be using besides Quimby funds for certain of the projects that you're putting forth? So those are all things I think we need to kind of had a little bit better working relationship on, and don't really like it when your staff goes out there and says, guess what, San Pedro, you have $5 million, because it's not really like that.
Yeah,
it's not really like that, as you know. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I'll apologize for that happening. I obviously was not involved in going to the press, but the documents that, I mean, we are full disclosure. I mean, all of the Quimby collection, all the amounts are on the website.
Right.
It is public information. However, how that's presented is, you're right, is another way. But I mean, be assured that you have my commitment. I'm responsible for the Quimby program, and nothing gets done in the Quimby program without full community support. Right now, I can tell you that the program is not being driven by necessarily our needs. What we generally will do is let the community know what infrastructure needs may be, but usually there's a marriage in there of, accommodating needs of, to keep the park functioning, obviously, but when a pool goes down, I mean, there's things like that happen that we will make strong recommendations on. Certainly, the list that you're referring to was actually prepared by me. And it was that list was generated from a list of projects which I got from your staff. So I mean, it's a recommendation. It's not by any means a plan. It's just here's right. Some ideas right. for us to go back. And Quimby is very complicated in that it's only available to go to certain parks. And so right. What we try to do is give each council office the parks that only have the Quimby money, and quite often it's shared between parks. So.
Right. And I think the missing piece is what other monies are available to you to do some of those very same projects.
Well, at this point, there's none.
Prop O, Prop K. I mean.
Yeah. Well, there's right now. there is a Prop K competitive grant process coming up in July, I believe, is when that's going to be, potentially. I mean, when that gets released, we'll certainly be talking to your office about projects. So there might be one source there. Currently, that's really the only source of funds outside of Quimby for capital improvements that's available. Prop O, there's basically all those funds have been earmarked. At least to my knowledge, I'm not involved with, I don't run the Prop O program, but certainly if there's options with funding, we would let you know. I can tell you that the plan that we proposed to your office, to my knowledge, there is no other funding available with the exception of the Lake Machado, where there's a large Prop O project going, and certainly we'd want to, we thought it would be, at least in a recommendation format, there's some things that need to be done around that lake that are not Prop O eligible.
Right.
So.
And I think it's true, and I think that the balance is, doing maintenance and repairs versus, what I hear is kids want places to play soccer and baseball.
Yeah,
and lights for basketball courts at night, and sometimes we're using this money for things that I know are maintenance and. But I think we've got to really look at, in these tough times, what can we deliver to our people
Absolutely.
That make, recreational opportunities more enhanced at our parks.
You have my complete commitment. Nothing is going to be done in your district without buy-in from your from you and your constituents.
Right.
We have no desire to do something in a community that they don't desire. There's no reason for us to want to do that. So.
Right, but we have to make. Unfortunately, we have to make choices.
And sometimes you do. There are.
A kitchen upgrade. One place is taking money from what could possibly be, a soccer field. And
as long as
we have to make choices.
Yeah, exactly. And my commitment is, as long as it takes with your, I will do that.
All right. So I appreciate the list. We're just starting to get a handle on it, but I just would say to all council members, it's very complicated, and everyone should try to get a handle on, their Quimby funds and work with you.
Mm-hmm.
But again, sometimes the projects that come forth, definitely the department wants to do them, but is that the best pot of money to use to do them?
I would also like to say that, we've been very successful when working with the council office. We're, coming up at today's board meeting, for example, this morning where I was at, the board adopted, working with Council District 5, a $7.6 million plan. We've done a $20 million plan with Quimby, with Council District 11. We're doing a very large plan with Councilman LaBonge's office. So I've always tried to...
$20 million's nice. I think I have $4 million.
Well, They're not all that big. I'm
Yeah,
just saying
I mean,
that
I could come up with a $20 million plan too, but see, that's our problem. 15th District has $4 million.
the idea, though, is
So, and I want to do soccer fields and campgrounds and, I wish you hadn't said that you came up with a $20 million plan.
Well, they had $20 million available in Quimby.
Yeah.
This is the problem, and this Quimby is not equitable by any means. It's driven
not.
by development, and unfortunately, where we need money for parks, it's not in the right areas necessarily. So,
Right,
Well,
exactly.
The
So, like,
assessment, the needs assessment will help us be a guide.
Exactly.
And then go on there, and I would just say, Madam Clerk, note that when we bring this back, both the needs assessments report and these other issues, let's have a 2 or 3 item
Yes.
meeting so we
Yeah,
can
but
focus.
you should match up the needs assessment with the available Quimby funds. and
Absolutely.
See, there's one more item on this subject, if you wouldn't mind,
No.
Mr. Chair, that's very frustrating to me, and it's a huge problem. We talk about the need for more park space. We talk about spending how much money on this needs assessment. How much money did we spend on this needs assessment?
it's approximately $400,000.
$400,000 to decide where we're going to need park space. I guarantee that this report is going to say we need more park space in my district. My district is underserved.
And a district like other districts like
Yes,
yours.
I'm just saying, like mine.
Right.
What's frustrating me is, as you know, we've worked together painfully on parcels of land, Mr. LaBonge, beautiful, open space parcels that have been either willing to be donated to the City of Los Angeles or at a very reduced price. And yet between Rec and Parks and the City Attorney's Office and coming up with every possible worst-case scenario, they refuse to acquire the property for fear of some future liability, naturally because some of it is contaminated property. But communities where you're going to need the most park is probably a community like Wilmington.
Industrial.
Every parcel in Wilmington is contaminated and toxic. The air they breathe is toxic. And you have kids, Tom, who are probably right now playing on that piece of property. They're
Right.
probably throwing a ball around right now at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And yet we cannot take that property and put a little grass on it and make it a decent soccer field because of our attorneys and because of Recreation and Parks' fear of, some horrible thing happening. What can we do in this very, very tough time to get around this horrible problem where we've got free open space being donated to us and we won't take it? We got to figure this one out. We've got to figure this one out.
We got to make sure we're all in the same line, because if the school district buys the land and we don't buy it, we're all in the same public business. I think it should be. I will say one thing, Ms. Hine. You can throw anything at me if you want afterwards. I say it.
Choose.
But I know they had a big problem over here at First and Bowtree that they had to resolve after 10 years in what was called the new Belmont High School, because they bought it and they didn't do the how it really went is the superintendent of the schools there was a graduate of Belmont, and they didn't have an environmental unit that studied this. They had his expedited unit were out of his office, and they went for that land without doing the full study of the properties. And consequently, we got into the problem over there, which may be why there's more caution. But I do believe, though, Michael, there's no new land in these neighborhoods,
Right.
whether it's Wilmington,
I've got 4 pieces of
whether it's
property
the Central
right here, that Rec and Parks will not take. And it's frustrating to me. And they are in the exact neighborhoods where I know this needs assessment study will show we need more park space.
Can I see that list?
Yes.
Is there CRA in any of these neighborhoods here, by chance? In this, because the CRA is a
Welcome Park, yeah, Welcome Park.
is an opportunity to look at that.
No, they do. CRA is part of it, but Rec and Parks ultimately wants it because it's a park.
We want
But
all
they
those.
won't- but then they won't
Councilmember,
take
we
it.
want all those properties.
I know, but then they won't take it because there's.
Right.
So I think we as policymakers, Tom, have got to figure out how to get through. And some of these are like Welcome Park. There's nobody even going to be. It's called Welcome Park, but it's more like a streetscape on steroids. I mean, you drive by it and go, isn't that pretty? It's just, it got rid of some blighted open space. We're treating it like kids are going to sleep overnight on it. And that's just not what's happening. And we don't have any flexibility, looking at Mark out there, we don't have any flexibility, in the city attorney's office to deal with this. And we have to figure out, because I think it just makes us look foolish when we spend $400,000 on a need assessment. I guarantee you it's going to point to that exact neighborhood in Wilmington where we would not take the property that was an abandoned railroad site. And you're going to say Wilmington needs more park space. And we negotiated an incredible deal on that piece of property, and the city attorney, can't see fit to let us accept it.
I just would say a suggestion would be, and we are going to, we talked to the library department, thinking outside the box.
Yeah, we got to
I
figure
think
this
that
out.
maybe needs to be a like there's the Municipal Facilities Committee, which deals with public buildings. There may need to be some kind of joint facility group within the city attorney's office, engineering, and the agencies like parks, because they all get involved, yet no one wants to pull the trigger, so to speak, because they're concerned about things. So let's discuss that at the next time we put it in, if we could, on that. We could hold this. I'd like to have it in the first meeting in March, if that works okay. You're prepared in the first meeting in March, right? And anyone involved with Quimby would be prepared. Would that be okay with you? We could have a focus on that, the needs assessment, and this Quimby thing, which is so important.
Yeah, I just think we have to start looking at these parcels.
But also, in fairness, which you're again may throw something at me, you could also come up with examples of properties that you bought that you had to get rid of or wasn't successful, because we want to make sure that it doesn't cause us. Are there examples, Mark?
I could give you an example to right now.
What you got? All right. Well, we'll figure it out. But
That's
we're
what they're worried about.
gonna figure out. Maybe we need a state law to get rid of this liability.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I think
That's
we need
thinking
to
outside the
figure it
box.
out. But the liability we have is
Sacramento.
kids who have no place to play. That's the liability that we have every single day. So they're playing out in the streets. They're playing, in locations that are probably more dangerous than this would be if we actually took it over, did the cleanup, and made a soccer field out of it. We're landlocked. I mean, we don't have any more land.
There's no new water.
I feel obligated to say that there's nobody that's working harder than I know our real estate staff and myself to acquire land in the city, and I would put that up against anybody. We have 8 sites right now. We're in acquisition of over 400 new acres to the park system. So you're right. These issues, we want these properties. Wilmington needs parks. We want them. We have to overcome these. I mean, as a staff person, we can only present what the findings are as our doing our due diligence, and the decision makers need to make those decisions of whether or not do we move forward. Rec and Parks is prepared to move forward on all those properties. We have to get past some of the issues that that you mentioned. We want those parks, and we want the city needs additional park space. And like I said, I know Sid is here, and nobody is working harder than him and his staff to make that happen.
Yeah, well, there's the Welcome Park Phase 2 and 3. There's East Wilmington Greenbelt Park, the Shell Oil property on Del Almo in New Hampshire, and the Drum Barracks in Wilmington. Ready to go. We want you to acquire it, and every one of them you won't acquire it.
We want.
Did you take a second look at them?
No.
There's, without boring you, I mean, there's things that the property owners owe us before we can move
I
forward.
know,
Got it.
but those
Okay.
kind of things,
All right. Well, all right, good. So we're going to continue this to the first meeting in March.
Come on, Mark Brown, figure it out.
Okay? All righty. Good. Very good. Madam Clerk, you got that?
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Scholl. Thank you. Item number 7, requested by Ms. Hahn.
Item number 7 is a joint City of Los Angeles and Los Angeles Unified School District report, the 2008 Community School Parks Report, relative to recommendations for changes to the Master Use Agreement and the implementation of 15 community school parks.
What is this?
Thank you very much.
Well, good afternoon again. Mike Shaw with Recreation and Parks. I'm joined by John Perez with People for Parks. I'm more or less here today to it goes in, it's right to the point of what Councilmember Hahn is talking about, additional park space. This is one way of greening some of the schools and opening these schools up to expand the existing park space in those areas of very high need. I want to, we've been working very closely with People for Parks. Tim Bowers from Beyond the Bell, I believe, is here as well. Monica Garcia from Los Angeles Unified, Anna Lasso from Los Angeles Unified, and Councilmember Labange, Mary Rodriguez from your staff. We've come a long way in developing a protocol for doing this, and I just want to express that Rec and Parks is very much supportive of this and are looking at funding mechanisms to assist in this. And with that, I'm going to give it over to John, and he can tell you about the details.
Great.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Council Member, the report that you have is one of the best reports that I can think of that I've worked on, first as a member of the Los Angeles Unified School District. But this report really does show that your motion, which set up this report, it shows exactly what you wanted when you made this motion at City Council. It shows how we can do it. Matter of fact, myself and Mr. Bill Lambert, that both of you know, we had a very good meeting with the staff of Congressman Javier Becerra. We are working very diligently on finding the private funding that we're going to need to establish these community school parks, and I want to commend Mr. Scholl. I want to commend the LA Unified School District. I've never worked on a committee that was 100% all in one direction, and this is a very fine report, and we hope that you will pass it on to the City Council, and the City Council will pass this report.
Well, this is very important.
My name is Tim Bauer. I'm with the Beyond the Bell branch of the Los Angeles Unified
God bless the memory of John Leahy.
That's right. That's our mentor, our founder.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been working with the committee to develop a plan once these parks are opened at the schools on how we'll offer programming and support using district staff with Beyond the Bell. It'll all be part of the funds will come from donations and other ways we can raise the money, but the district is committed to providing that supervision right on the school site and opening these school sites for this purpose. So we've been very happy to be part of this committee. It's an exciting time, and we think we can be very successful at it.
So you have anything else you want to contribute on behalf of Mr. Muckery?
No, just again to reiterate our complete support of this effort, and it's one way to get parkland into the city. That's shared resources with LA Unified and others is one way of doing it.
So how would this work? If a school becomes a park?
Well, let's ask Mark Brown. He went out back.
How would this work?
How does it work?
Walk me through one of them.
Well, let's take a typical school. It's mentioned in the report, 28th Street School. They have a very large blacktop area.
Right.
Part of that blacktop area will be fenced off,
right,
so that the school is secure, so that we
right,
don't have a problem with vandalism.
Right.
The asphalt is taken up.
Right.
And there are maybe 15, 20 different types of things that can be put down: a running track, an urban forest, an herb garden where the students can learn how to use.
Place?
What?
A play place?
A play place. There are lots of different things that can be put down. The best example of a community school park is at Brentwood Science Magnet. Of course, that was done with private funding. This approach that's in your report is a systemic approach which says that every single kid in the LA Unified School District in the city of Los Angeles should have the same opportunity to have a park on the campus as they have at Brentwood or Beethoven. The school would use the park when school is in session. On weekends and vacations, the park would be open to the public as part of the LA City Recreation Parks. This is really outside the box, this whole concept.
Right. I want to ask Mary Rodriguez, who's my educational deputy, who also did a tremendous job as a parent, turning around a middle school and these concepts here. Mary, give us your voice.
Well, without a doubt, the parents and principals have to play a part in making this decision happen.
Right, that's key.
And we have found some principals at some schools that are ready to go. They're ready and willing, and we're now trying to look at where there is Quimby money in a community and a principal that's ready to go with community members and parents that are also in support. And we have found a school like that in Council District 4, and we are hoping to identify one in each and every council district.
Each council office will identify those. What are our next steps from here?
Well, hopefully, the committee will pass this report on to the city council with a due pass recommendation, and we will continue to work as diligently as we can to find foundations which will help us fund these parks. We understand the terrible economic straits that the country is in.
Ms. Hahn said the best thing, and repeat it, you said this on the floor of council today about even though we're in tough times, don't close your eyes, move forward. Shovel ready, I think was the term that somebody else used, but now's the time to do it.
Right, and we're committed to doing that.
The public needs us more than ever before.
Right, absolutely.
They need spaces for this.
Yep.
So I'm prepared, if you're prepared, Ms. Hahn, to send this forth to council. We're going to ask each person each council person to identify one school just to get it off, to get it going so that we can move forward, the match of the principal, the school, and go forward. So if that's okay with you, we're going to recommend approval.
Yes.
Okay.
I think the public wants this. The public wants this. The public always looks at the schools and says, how come they don't have recreational opportunities for everybody? So I think this would be good. Hopefully there's not, a bunch of red tape that we're going to run into on this one.
Mr. Chairman, if I might just indulge upon you and Madam Hahn, I want to say that I am really happy with what the committee did in recommending Anna Kubas to the City Council. I first met Anna when I was president of the Teachers Union. She was chief of staff to Jose Huizar when he was the president of the school board. I can attest to her deep and abiding commitment to the children of this community, and I'm very happy that she's going to become a commissioner in this city. I want to give my wholehearted recommendation to her and commend you for your decision in recommending her to City Council. She's well deserving of this.
Well, thank you very much, Anna. That's very nice,
Wow.
John. Sally Neubauer, you want to speak on this issue? Mary, if you give her that seat. Thank you all for that. And, we're going to recommend approval of this. Sally, let's hear your remarks.
I'd like to, hi, my name is Sally Neubauer. I'm with the Citizens Committee to Save Elysian Park. And I would like to just comment on the needs assessment study, the Quinby funds, and this report too. Because this report, I don't think goes far enough. It only targets the elementary schools, and the needs assessment, once you get the discussion on that, you'll see that there's a lot of requests for playing fields and for more activity. And if you're dealing with small elementary school playgrounds only, you're very limited in what you can do on a school program here. I think it's a great idea, but I just think it needs to be more than what it is. In other words, why can't we take those fences around the soccer fields, the baseball fields that are at the large high schools, and open them up on the weekends too? Why can't we put the money and the programs to use more than just a small playground at an elementary school? And in the needs assessment, you'll see that there's requests for arts programs. A lot of arts programs have been requested. So maybe there'd be a couple of schools that would have one of their classrooms open on the weekend, for art classes. I just think that it's premature to tie this one up before you talk about all the others.
Well, the one challenge we have, I don't know, this time in the afternoon, I think, Judge Judy's on TV or whoever it is, and you see all these people in dispute. In former times, there were great disputes between agencies, like the school district, like the park system, between the challenges of being in a marriage. We are forming a marriage. This is our first steps. There are going to be greater steps in the future. I could see every middle school being a art, music, after-school academy with sports, every which one. We've got to get the funding. It may also mean to you, Michael, that we're not going to have you build buildings as much as we're going to have you build green space and let the schools be the buildings. But it has to be worked out. And also you have another challenge too, Sally, is there are some people amongst us who abuse public spaces. And you have to keep that solid wall between school children and their safety and those who are not good citizens. And there's a real need for that as well. Because I find, too, Ms. Hahn, my greatest complaints usually come from people who live right across the street from the school, and they love it on the weekend when there's nothing in there. They really love it after 4 o'clock because there's nobody there. Well, I want to see it go all the time, and this is going to be a transformation. If you could hear this, Mr. Villaraigosa, just make every middle school a full after-school park Saturday and Sunday, Ms. Hahn and I will help you do that. That will make a total difference in opportunities, because they have gyms, they have facilities. It's a little bit bigger in the middle school area, and it doesn't have the challenges sometimes high schools have with their school activities.
Yes.
All that being said, you're right on point, but I would say this about fences. Those fences in Elysian Park for those softball and baseball fields, if they weren't there, probably they would get vandalized, unfortunately, because people don't care for public land as much as they should, and they have to protect some of those fences for those parks. I know Mike will tell you sometimes they get a report from the Rangers, people drive on parks in their cars and tear it up and do thousands of dollars worth of rut damage. There needs to be some balance there. But we also have to teach people to appreciate public land.
Right.
But we look forward to working with you, and God bless the memory of Grace Simons, who was the champion there in Elysian Park, as you've been the champion for many years.
All right, thank you.
So we'll continue this, but it's the first big step. It's taken, John, how long has it taken for us to get here? 3 years. 3 years. That's a long time. That's why we're going right to council and to get more support. So thank you, Sally.
Thank you.
Okay. Were you able to express everything you wanted to express, Sally? You want to express some more?
Oh, no, I'm disappointed that you want to go ahead and just continue this the way it is rather than trying to tie it up a little bit better with a needs assessment program.
Well, I think you're going to. John Perez, come up here, because I don't know. John, do you know Sally?
No, I don't.
John Perez, you both have great hearts. John and Jack Foley and others, okay. Obviously, Ms. Neubauer would like to see us try to even make this a grander.
Well, we don't disagree.
Right.
But we felt we needed to start somewhere. And the somewhere is there's an elementary school in every single community in the city of Los Angeles. And Los Angeles being so park poor, the natural place to start is with the elementary schools, because they don't have green. Middle schools and high schools do have green spaces. We could expand the program, but I think we need to get the program up and running. We need to show people how successful this program can be and how the communities are going to respond positively when these parks are open. And then I don't think there's going to be any doubt that we can do the same thing at the middle school and high school level as we do at the elementary level. That's the foundation of education, and it's also, I believe, the foundation for the community school park.
John's with People for Parks, and this has been taking a long time to get to this point, Sally, and I appreciate your comments, and you say, yeah, we'd like to make it a better model, but this is the first step to try to do it, and I think if we're successful, other models will follow rapidly. We want to be successful. So.
And there is money in the bond issues for greening of the newer schools. What we're talking about are the older elementary schools and older schools in this city that do not have access to those bond measures which the citizens have passed.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we'll send that forward to council, both Ms. Hahn and I. She voted on that before she left. Let's go to the, let's just see, do we have anything quick? Because I know we could then finish up like a pro with our art department. 11.
Number 11 is the City Administrative Officer report relative to scope amendments and term extensions for Prop A project agreements.
You're with the CAO's office?
Yes, good afternoon. Bernice Hollins, Office of the CAO. This is a routine item. The LA for Kids Steering Committee is recommending in favor of 4 amendments to Proposition A grant agreements. Two of the modifications are for scope changes and 3 term extensions.
It's a good thing.
Yes.
I recommend approval. Number 12.
Thank you.
Number 11.
That was number 11. Now I'm asking for 12.
And number 12 is a report from the Department of Public Works Bureau of Sanitation relative to applying for an agreement for grant funding.
I'm Alice Long with the Bureau of Sanitation Watershed Protection Division. We applied for a grant from the Department of Parks and Recreation for a recreational trail between 2 city parks. Unfortunately, the state notified us due to their financial situation they will not be awarding any funds for this grant this year. They did encourage us to reapply, so we'd like to change our request just to receive and file the request at this time.
Would it help you if we approve this and then next year you don't have to come back to us? You could just if Bunny
We
gets
could-
better?
Yeah, we could do that also.
Let's do it. Let's approve it, because we want you to be ready to go, shovel ready.
Councilmember?
Okay?
Sounds good.
All right, yes?
I would actually recommend having them come back next year because the grant amount may change, and there may be certain guidelines that the state may implement. Like
And I tried. I like trails. I tried. Okay, I'll listen to our
Appreciate it.
CAO representative and our CLA representative on this. Thank you so much. I tried there. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's have Olga Garay up here now.
Okay, so for clarification, item 12 is received and
Receive
filed.
and file. And before you get into your report, we got a item here, number 10. You know about number 10?
Item 10 is a motion relative to a refund of an arts development fee to SL NoHo in the amount of $219,000.
Yes, this is a pretty straightforward request. Due to an error in the process, well, not in the process, but in the enactment of the process, SL NoHo ended up both paying the fee and complying with the arts development fee requirement through their contract with the CRA. So basically,
The right thing to do.
yes, basically they did a double
Paid twice.
compliance. So
Got
this
it.
is to
All right, we'll recommend
correct that.
approval on that. And now we're here, all cultural affairs for 5 and 6.
And I'll just read the
Accept
item.
grant. Let's do the accept the grant there.
And item number 6 is the Cultural Affairs Report relative to requesting authority to accept a $30,000 grant from the Japan Foundation.
Yes, we want the money.
Very good. We want to send a nice thank you note.
I'm sorry?
Nice thank you note.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and before you get away, we're just going right here. We'll approve number 6. Neil, item number 9.
Item number 9 is a motion, Perry Reyes, relative to authorizing Department of Rec and Parks to use Quimby funds.
Sid Makarag, Rec and Parks. What we're doing right now is asking General Services to give us advice on the procedure for acquiring foreclosed properties by auction. It is not a procedure that we've done in the past, so it's something that we need to study and evaluate.
Great, and you'll discuss this fully in council when it comes to
Yeah.
council?
Mm-hmm.
Karen Hashmi from Councilwoman Jan Perry's office. Councilwoman couldn't be here today, but asked that I just speak on the item and reiterate our support for it, and that the intent of this is to be proactive in using Quimby funds to acquire foreclosed properties in an auction. We look forward to the department's report back.
And will it be housing or just open space or any kind of?
The intent would be for open space and park space.
Got it, very good. Thank you so much. I was a deputy once. It's good to see a deputy here. Thank you, Sid. All right, we got everything. Now we got a spotlight on art. Okay.
And item number 5 is a verbal presentation by the Department of Cultural Affairs relative to its department's budget and the challenges that lie ahead in the fiscal year 2009-10.
Thank you so much for requesting that your departments make these presentations. I think that that's really shows that you care about how we're faring. Everybody's trying to do the best with very limited funds. So I'm going to start by talking about the impact of this fiscal year, and then I will segue into next fiscal year. So the first thing that I should say, and of course this has happened to a lot of our departments, is that we received a $110,000 reduction in our general full-time payment accounts because we were projecting to do furloughs that never materialized. And so we took a $110,000 hit. Thankfully, we were able to ameliorate that because we are getting some funding support from the National Endowment for the Arts to do the Guadalajara International Book Fair, which includes their reimbursing us for our staff time. So we were able to use that money to mitigate this $110,000 negative impact. A little bit of background, right now the department is authorized to have 80 full-time positions. However, we currently only have 74 positions filled. So there's 16 positions that are vacant. That's about a 20% impact on the total number of positions that we've been authorized to have. What that translates into, obviously, is that it impacts our ability to provide our core services, such as being able to do the art programs that we do at our various centers, to implement arts development fee projects, which we're mandated to do by law, to staff our theaters, to maintain our historic sites, et cetera. Furthermore, these vacancies impact our ability to raise funds from outside public and private sources. Lastly, our administrative functions are also diminished. For example, we lost our principal accountant before Christmas and have not been able to replace him because there's a hiring freeze. And so our ability to execute the 400 or so contracts that we put out every year through grants, and now that we're getting grants to re-grant, that volume is sure to stay at that level, if not get higher. So while we're right now not specifically being told that there's going to be additional cuts to the FY 08-09 budget, it's tentative as to how we're going to move forward. And if additional cuts come through, we're going to have to make the kind of decisions that you guys were talking about earlier, which is, maybe closing down programs, closing down centers, eliminating our youth arts initiatives. So we're sort of cut to the bone right now. So anything that impacts our bottom line is going to it's going to have to result in reduction of services.
Question, have you did any analysis that says if we got $17,000, we could continue this program or whatever? Have you put a price on your services and looked at it? Because I think what's going to happen, as we spoke earlier to our library department, we got to go out to people and say, if we want to keep a program at Barnesdall Park or William Grant Arts Center, or whatever the case may be, this is what the dollar is.
We have not, but when you made that statement earlier, I turned to Saul and say, write that down, because we need to be proactive about doing those.
I don't see anything written down, I just see type there. You don't got to type right there. Wrong. Very good.
So I will say that since I arrived here in August of last year, we've been a year ago, so I've been here 16 months. We've been able to bring in $8.1 million in outside resources, which is pretty extraordinary given that the year before I arrived, the department only raised $851,000. So we've increased our fundraising by tenfold. But even that is going to be difficult to sustain, not only because we don't have the staffing to really be as proactive as we would like in raising outside funds, but even if we get funds, then to execute the programs that we receive the funds for is getting increasingly difficult to do, because every time that we lose a position, we cannot replace that person. So I'm just forewarning the city that, even though we've been amazingly successful in bringing in additional resources, which of course assist us in delivering services that, were not available before, that's going to be compromised if we are not able to fund, But
you had no accountant, you say, right?
Right now, our principal accountant retired.
Is there a junior principal?
There's a junior accountant.
Okay. Is there accountants or us in the city family? Do we need to create that, Madam CLA? Because of the struggle, many minor in position numbers, but major in their heart departments will find this struggle here, and there may need to be some, like general services is supposed to handle all our general services. Maybe there needs to be a general services for administration. So,
like the city attorney, the city attorney deals with a number of departments. I mean, it might have to come to that, but right now, the volume that we have is probably outstrips most even bigger departments, because so much of our money goes out in grants, which is, in grants and in part-time services. It's a way that we can not have to carry a full-time person's, all of the FICA and all of that stuff, and still maintain a high level of service. So that kind of solution is something that, we would really be eager to explore. So the last thing I'll say about fundraising is that most grants in the arts require a match, and that has been difficult for us because we don't have an identified sort of segregated grant matching line item. And so we've been having to rob from Peter to pay Paul. So some of our core programs are being de-emphasized in order for us to capture some of these grant opportunities. But obviously, when you are obtaining grants, it increases the amount of dollars that you have to work with, and therefore your productivity. But it does have this other effect of making us put our core programs in a perilous situation. So one of the things that we've asked for in our next fiscal year's budget, which we asked for this year and did not get, was I believe it's like $300,000 in the unappropriated balance, so that if we are successful in getting a grant and we need a match, we might be able to use that resource. So as we move into next year, we were asked, all departments were asked to submit a zero-based growth budget and a 6% cut scenario. At a 0%, it still means absorbing $332,000 in cost of living adjustments. And at 6%, which equals $571,000, we would definitely have to start cutting services. And so that
How many authorized positions do you have in cultural affairs?
80 full-time.
Full-time, and how many are presently filled? I know
74 are filled.
64.
64, sorry.
So
And
80
so,
from 64 is what?
excuse me?
80 from 64 is what?
144.
80 from, no.
Oh,
I know.
minus.
Yeah, minus.
Okay.
But anyway, I got it. I'm not good at math
Okay.
either. Listen, I think it's our challenge. We just got to figure, again, when we had all the departments here and we appreciate this here, we got to figure something out. We got to figure something out to try to reduce overhead costs, to get more dollars in the hands of artists, to get more dollars in the hands of local community theaters. Because everybody is hurting, on this situation here. So,
Well, the arts community has just had a really bad shock because all of their contracts with LAUSD have been suspended because of the state's troubles.
Right.
So if we pull out as well, it's going to really just mean the death knell for many organizations.
What's happening with the county art?
I think that they're still experiencing a relatively stable environment.
What if
so
someone
far.
came to the city, and I'm not proposing this at all, and said, why doesn't the city and county, join forces?
You could. I don't think.
Would they
that-
get more money to artists? I think that's what all people care
it,
about.
If it results in that, I mean, I think for me, to be honest with
Right.
you, Council Member, one of the big challenges here is that because of civil service rules and because of union rules, a lot of times, those are such huge percentages of our overall costs that, merging two departments or even merging something from the city and the county, will it really result in a significant saving if there are, bumping right? It just seems like it would be difficult for me to say yes or no to that proposition without it really being carefully.
Was there anything we do jointly, explore the way we could do jointly? I don't want to destroy Los Angeles' mission with the arts or the county's
Right.
mission. And the county, and I'm sorry Ms. Hahn wasn't here when I say this, but they have this great holiday program at the Music Center that her father started, almost 50 years ago or more. At the
We do
sports
do
arena.
things with the
Right.
county. For example, that we have been working with them on something called the California Data Project, which is a major initiative throughout the state, so that if an applicant to a grant program in the county and the city and the Irvine Foundation, so both public and private sources, have codified the questions that they ask so that you have one-stop shopping. So it's a way of streamlining our services. So we do things like that with each other, and I think that, there are other synergies that perhaps we could explore.
Yeah, I haven't broken down the stimulus package proposed by President Obama, Have you broken it down, any
Well,
help for
apparently,
the arts?
right now, there's a $50 million line item for the National Endowment for the Arts that is envisioned to go to state arts agencies and maybe local arts agencies. Already there is a move on the Senate to curtail any
delete.
$1 from the stimulus package to go to the arts. So
Right.
that's being fought. As a matter of fact, I got an email about that today. So I think that in the end, $50 million is a fairly modest amount, given that, that translates to $1 million a state. That's not a huge
Right.
amount of money. So I think that that the majority will rule that $50 million can stay, but it's not a panacea. I mean, $1 million for a state the size of California. Not that it's going to be broken just equally
Right.
into 50 pieces, but you get my point. It's not a huge, it's not going to be a huge bailout for the arts community.
We had discussion with the librarian about some potential possibilities to create funding. What kind of possibilities did you have to create?
Well, we've been very proactive in writing grant proposals, and we have been very successful. Like I said, the amount of money that we brought in the last 16 months is tenfold what was brought in the previous
Right.
year. I think that the kind of it's a little bit difficult because we manage a lot of facilities, but some of them are really programmed by other nonprofit entities and such. So that individual giving quotient is going to be a little bit more challenging for us to go into. It's a lot cheaper for me and a lot more cost effective to write a grant that might result in a $150,000 award than it is to try to raise $150,000 from individuals. It just
Right.
takes a lot more care.
I think we got to think outside the box and figure something out. Look on the screen of what's happening worldwide. What could we do to get people to be patrons of the arts, especially for young people, in the sense of their experience of going to art programs and whatever. And I know the last time there was a serious blow to the budget, they took many of your facilities and gave them to community-based organizations to operate.
Right.
Are any still operating? I know in North Hollywood, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's working to you. That cuts you overhead.
It does, and I think
Right.
that one of the things, as you know, we're doing a cultural master plan right now. One of the things that is going to come out in the master plan is that, like you said earlier, that I guess it was for the Parks Department, that we really need to look at what facilities issues we're facing and really look at it holistically in a task force kind of manner.
Right.
So we are going to be probably, looking to implement that certainly by next fiscal year, to really look at what is the role that we should be playing with all of these facilities. Should we pare down to, maybe a handful that we can really invest in?
Right. I'm going to ask the city clerk, on these items here that were reports, is it potentially possible that I could schedule these in council to give them an opportunity to have a voice before we get into the budget season?
The reports
motion.
made just on this
Yeah, on
item?
the motion.
You would need to introduce a motion at council
did.
to bring it. This is a discussion item only, so no action can be taken in committee.
Got it. Okay, good. But even the discussion item, I can't forward to full council.
Correct, you cannot.
Got it. Okay, so I may do that. Because I think it's important early to be on the awareness of this. So, because I want others to hear your challenges
Yeah,
as
I mean,
well.
I think that, everybody is being challenged and everybody's pinching pennies. And one of the things that I would be remiss if I didn't point out is that, the backbone of our budget is the Transient Occupancy Tax. And as you know, those dollars are going down because, both business travel and family and vacation travel is being curtailed as people are worried about their funds. And so on top of, having to absorb the cost of living raises and, all of that kind of stuff, we're going to see a diminished core budget just by virtue of the fact that our 1% of the TOT tax is going to be going down. Right now, we were in discussion with the CAO's office as early as last week, and they're predicting 6 to 7% downturn this year. So that's something that is also of great concern because it's.
Sorry, I feel like I must correct that. As far as the TOT is concerned, we're projecting a 2% reduction for this year.
2%.
And it's expected to stay flat next year.
Right.
Sorry?
Thank you.
Oh, LA Inc. gave me the 6 to 7%.
CAO,
Sorry
the
about that.
CAO.
It was LA Inc.
All right, so I'm going to check to see if we can get a placeholder. I'll check with Mr. Garcetti and Mr. Parks just to give a brief. But I think if we do it, Ms. Gurai, I'm going to have brief PowerPoints, maybe just to tell, and also try to rally council members to get their deputies involved to be a voice for your important department and that of the library and other parks, etc. So we're going to conclude this item here, this report. I thank you. We'll be in touch, and we'll call that. Madam,
Thank you so much.
you betcha. And are you going back to work today?
Yeah.
Then I'll call you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. And Madam Clerk, I know we have a card here from Sally Neubauer for item number 11. We're going to open that back up for this right now.
Thank you, Sally Neubauer with the Citizens Committee to Save Elysian Park. I just wanted clarification on what action was taken on this today and what will happen next.
Yeah, Mr. Drucker, you familiar with this item?
Well, item number 11 was approved in committee today and will be
Right,
forwarded
got
to
that.
council.
I understand that, but could you describe what is being done?
The committee took action to approve the term extensions and the scope amendments. Proposition A projects are funded by the county, and there are certain amendments that the county is requiring in order to implement the closeout of the projects. So it's more administrative than
There's
taking
no
over the
necessary
project.
work going to be done. This work has been done and completed. This is the close.
Well, I understand that work will be done and completed in Elysian Park by...
There is still an
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Drucker.
Neil Drucker, Public Works. Yeah, on a number of these projects, the Prop A projects have been completed, and it is just closeout. But a few of them, including Grand Park and Elysian Park and Tierra de la Culebra, there's still some additional work to be done.
So there would be a development of the Grandview viewpoint, including construction of a parking lot, installation of an irrigation system, development of picnic areas and pathways, and landscaping.
That's my understanding, that's correct, for the Elysian Park project.
Have you got plans or have you got a project manager for that?
The project manager, we do have, that's through our architectural division. As far as the status of the plans, I will have to get back to you on that one.
If you want this report, you got this report?
All I have is this. I think that's it for the report. Right. On the other page. Yeah.
Is that this
Okay.
report here? You think this is?
I can get clarification with Mr. Drucker. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
as far as this goes, it's probably just going to be a rubber stamp through City Hall.
Well, I don't like to use the word rubber stamp. I just think we take the professional's opinion.
Yes.
And then we, use our skills to say, okay, that's a value, and we move forward.
Right.
Is this the first?
This is not a
meeting?
controversial item.
No, is it controversial
This is
to
just
you?
no.
Okay, good.
Just wanted to be clear what it was.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Joan Taylor is not here, so we're going to note this. Is there any other items before the committee, Madam Chair?
That completes all items.
Well, I thank you all, and I wish you a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
You as well.
Meeting adjourned.